We depend on the world's forests and the ecosystem services for our health, agriculture and long-term economic growth. At the same time, global deforestation continues at an unprecedented rate, with agricultural expansion driving 90% of deforestation worldwide. With the new EU Deforestation Regulation, or EUDR, the European Union is taking a bold step forward to minimize its contribution to deforestation and forest degradation worldwide. This initiative is part of a larger commitment to meet global climate and biodiversity goals. Through extensive consultations, EU citizens showed that they do not want to contribute to deforestation worldwide with their consumption, and called for legislation to that effect. The EUDR covers 7 agricultural commodities: cocoa, coffee, cattle, palm oil, rubber, soy, and wood, as well as certain derived products. The EUDR treats all products equally. This means that whether a product is sourced within the EU or imported from outside, it must meet the same standards when placed on the EU market or exported from it. To ensure effective implementation of the EU Deforestation Regulation, the European Commission is putting in place a benchmarking system that assesses risk levels for countries both inside and outside the EU. This system categorizes countries into 3 risk levels: low, standard, and high. This helps the EU and its member states focus their checks where they're needed most. A low-risk categorization means simplified due diligence obligations for companies, leading to fewer checks by EU competent authorities. Operators sourcing from low-risk countries are also subject to simplified due diligence, meaning they will only need to collect information but not assess and mitigate risks. On the other hand, a high-risk categorization results in more frequent checks to ensure compliance. Importantly, there is no outright ban on any commodity or product. Instead, the focus is on ensuring responsible sourcing. Before placing their products on the EU market, companies must ensure that relevant commodities and products are 1. Produced without deforestation and without forest degradation after 2020, 2. Produced in accordance with relevant legislation of the country of production. Thus, a 3-step due diligence process is to follow. First, companies must collect relevant information including the geolocation of all areas of production. The geolocation of each plot needs to be collected only once using widespread and free technology. Secondly, they should conduct a risk assessment based on the information collected. Thirdly, mitigate and manage the risk if a non-negligible risk is identified. The negligible risk should be confirmed by a due diligence statement and the geolocation of the plots. A simplified due diligence process is to be followed for products sourced from low-risk countries. Due diligence obligations under the EUDR only apply to the company placing a relevant product on the EU market or exporting it from there. Based on checks by EU competent authorities, only these companies can receive penalties in case of non-compliance, but there are no penalties on producers in third countries. The European Commission makes use of several instruments to support the implementation of the EUDR. The EU Observatory, with a map of global forest cover as of 2020. The information system for an efficient and digital submission of the due diligence statements. The guidance on implementing the EUDR, and the FAQ document that is regularly updated. The EUDR itself provides a number of measures of support for producers. Companies are asked to support suppliers, in particular smallholders, through investments and capacity building as part of their risk mitigation measures. The European Commission and EU member states collaborate with partner countries towards the regulation's objectives. The EU Commission and the EU already actively support the successful implementation of the EUDR through technical assistance and investments. This includes co-investing more than €80 million through the Team Europe initiative on deforestation-free value chains. Climate security, our health and livelihoods all depend on halting deforestation. Through collaboration, we can create inclusive, sustainable and deforestation-free value chains.